Motivation feels powerful, but it doesn't last. You feel inspired one day, ready to change the world, ready to change your life. You set goals, you make plans, and you promise yourself, hey, this time will be different. This time, nothing is going to stop me. But a few days later, the energy, fades and consistency disappears. And you are back where you started, right where you started, you are back there. So the question here, my friend, is why does motivation feel so strong but fail so often or so easily? And I have some questions. What if the problem isn't your discipline? What if the problem is not your mindset? What if the real issue you have been is that you have been relying on something that was not designed to last? So, in this video, we are going to break down why motivation doesn't work long time. And also we're going to look at what actually drives consistent progress and how to build a life that does not depend on motivation at all. There is a problem with motivation, and let's investigate it. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are inconsistent. So some days you feel great, you feel inspired. Other days you feel tired, you feel distracted, you feel unmotivated. And if your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent because we don't feel the same every day. And that's the first problem. But there are deeper issues. There's something deeper here. You see, most people rely on motivation to start. And then they also rely on it to continue. Excuse me. And that's where everything breaks down. Because motivation is not a system. You have to understand that motivation is not a system. It is a temporary state. I'll give you a simple example to drive it home. Let's say you think about going to the gym. You feel motivated, so you go. But the next day, what happens? You just don't feel like it. I know you've been there. I have been there. What happens? You skip. Now, your progress depends on whether motivation shows up. And that is not sustainable. Here is the hidden truth here. Most people don't realize that motivation is good for starting, but it is terrible for sustaining. Motivation is good for starting, but it's terrible for sustaining. So if you want consistency, you need something stronger than motivation. I'm your doctor here. I will prescribe for you a stronger, prescription. Okay. So let's look at what actually works. What actually works is structure. Specifically, I'm talking about systems, habits, and identity. You see, these are the things that create long-term progress. Let's briefly look at motivation versus identity. This is where everything connects back to something deeper. If you rely on motivation, excuse me, your actions are based on feelings. But if you act from identity, your actions are based on who you are. You see, for example, a person who says, I am trying to work out, is relying on motivation. And then a person who says, I am someone who takes care of my body, this person is acting differently because now it is part of his or her identity. I am a person that takes care of my body. So working out now is part of who I am because I take care of my body. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, that shift changes everything. You see, when behavior becomes part of your identity, something powerful happens. So you don't ask, oh, do I feel like doing it? No, you don't ask that. Instead, you ask, is this who I am? Yeah. Is this who I am? You see, that shifts, that particular shift removes the need for constant motivation. You are now acting from, the basis of who you are. Okay, so now let's talk about systems. The second thing that replaces motivation is system. A system is something you follow regardless of how you feel. And as a system removes decision making. It removes emotional dependence. It creates consistency. So how or why does systems work? You see, systems work because they reduce friction, isn't it? Instead of asking, oh, should I do this today? Or what should I do today? Should I do this today? No, you simply follow the system because the system is there for you to follow. Okay? So that's how progress becomes predictable. Okay, there is a bigger picture here. You see, over the time, I started noticing something. People who build strong, meaningful lives, they don't rely on motivation at all. Instead, they build structure, discipline, identity, resilience. You see, they are not random traits. They are parts of a deeper pattern. And that pattern is what I want to introduce to you. And that pattern, I called it the FLOURISH Blueprint. What is it? It is the idea that a meaningful life isn't built on temporary emotions. Rather, it's built on strong internal structure. Things like identity, things like discipline, things like resilience, and direction. So these are the foundations that create long-term growth. Here is a key insight for you. If you have been struggling with consistency, first, it is not because you are lazy. Secondly, it's not because you lack motivation. It is because you have been relying on something that was never meant to carry your life. And that's the truth. So, here is my closing thought for you. Motivation can start a journey, but it cannot sustain a life. If you want real progress, you need to build something deeper, something more stable, something that doesn't disappear when your emotions change. So, in the next video, we are going to talk about something even more powerful. We are going to break down the structure behind a meaningful life and how everything, connects together. And this is where this bigger picture starts to come together. So, if you want to learn how to build a life of identity, a life of purpose, and impact, please consider subscribing to this channel, because that's exactly what this channel is all about. So, if you got something from this video, please hit that like button and share it to people who might need to hear this. So there are other videos coming up on the screen right now. Just click on any and enjoy. And I will see you in the next video.